Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, please consider subscribing so you can get to enjoy this content and more to come. You can as well consider watching videos from 5-6 years ago, and I'm pretty sure you will be very happy and something is definitely going to change in your life. So today I will be talking about a very sensitive topic in my life. Tinnitus. One of the hardest moments I've had to endure in 2024 was because of tinnitus. Let me just give a brief definition. Tinnitus is simply a buzzing or ringing in your ear that doesn't seem to go away. You could get the perception that it's coming from your surrounding, or it's just coming from within. However, most of the times you might as well feel as if it's coming from your surrounding. And I will just go ahead and say that I feel like I'm in a better position to talk about tinnitus and to probably help someone out there, because it's a situation that I've been through. It's something that I've experienced, and it's not such a beautiful experience as well. I want to say it's the worst, but let me not say. However, for me, it felt like the worst experience I had ever been through. So, just a brief history about my tinnitus. About around the month of May, I think at the beginning of May 2024, I had just woken up and I heard a buzzing in my ear. It's as if there was an insect making movements in my ear, or maybe trying to like hit something in my ear that was very loud, and I could not perceive what it was. And so it was disturbing me a lot because I'm not used to such things happening to me. Do you know the feeling that you get when you have water stuck in your ear after a bath or maybe a shower? That is the feeling I had. It's like a feeling of fullness in your ear. And so I kept hearing a throbbing in my ear. I think the word throbbing in my ear, like the word throb, is the perfect word to use, because that is exactly how I was explaining it to the people or the specialists that I used to go to. And I also told one of my friends about it, like, I'm hearing a throbbing in my ear and it's not going away. So that morning I woke up feeling like that, and then it persisted. It didn't go away. So what I did was I took a Q-tip and I decided to like get it in there just in case the previous night I had taken a shower and then there was water still stuck in my ear. So I was very open to the idea that there could be something wrong. I did. And so I tried to get the Q-tip in there, and the cotton came out. The cotton on the Q-tip came out very clean. There was no water. It wasn't soaked or anything. And as I did that, I did not hear anything. There was still throbbing in the ear, but I could not hear, like I could not really feel as if something was wrong, but the sound was there. So what happened is, I like some weeks later I went to see a specialist. Well, at first I started with going to a pharmacy and explaining the situation to those at the counter, like the tellers. And once I explained my situation, they were very shocked. So for starters, I met a lady and she was like, you're imagining something is happening and it's not. And again, she told, like, that was the first option. She told me, you're probably imagining something and it's definitely not there. Secondly, she told me that it could be a psychological problem. So you link the first and the second, so it's psychological. I was actually very open to the idea that it could actually be, because at that time I was very, for the better part of 2024, I've been sad. I've been very sad because of, I can say, lack of employment, like most of the times. And sometimes when, like, that's the prolonged sadness led to me isolating myself from other people, because sometimes when you don't have something to offer, you could tend to isolate yourself. So I isolated myself from other people, which led to increasingly, like, more sadness in it. On top of that, I had other, like, issues going on in my life, especially to do with family, and so that got the better part of me, and I isolated myself further, because I felt as if no one could understand what I was going through. And it's not every day you meet someone and you just talk about your problems. So most of the times I keep things to myself up until I can feel I have a connection with someone and I can talk to them. And so, like, around March, I had met a very special person to me, and I always thank God for him. And I was able to, like, explain to him my situation, and he was very, very helpful. Like, I, however, that did not stop me from feeling sad, because in as much as you might talk to someone about something and they understand, at the end of the day the feeling is still there up until you're out of that situation. So I was very, very sad from the beginning of the year. I had some goals that I wanted to meet. I wanted to complete a short course, but I did not. So that was part of the sadness. And so the prolonged sadness led to me being stressed, and it also led me to being lonely, because I'm alone. I don't have, like, other people I'm interacting with, because I had the feeling, I feel like I felt some type of way. I felt inferior or something, because I didn't have anything to offer. And so, in the process of getting stressed and feeling lonely, of which at one point I shared with someone that I felt lonely and I did not know what to do about it. In the process of feeling lonely and stressed, I got depressed, and this is around May this year, 2024. So when the what is it called? When the throbbing in my ear started, I felt like I was losing it, because it worsened. And so when, like, weeks later, when I went to a pharmacy and asked about the situation, and they told me that I could be imagining things and it could be psychological. They were just confirming my fears, or the negativity that I was telling myself. And so they advised me, like, they gave me like, ear drops, and I used that. It was on the left ear. They gave me ear drops, and I used that. However, the situation did not change. In fact, it actually kept getting worse. So after using the ear drops, I began feeling sick. I How can I explain this? Do you know that general feeling of being sickly? I had that. And then I started having headaches out of nowhere. And then now the ringing started later. Like, the ringing started, about about now, like a week or two later is when the ringing now started in my ear. However, I want you to keep in mind of the fact that when all this started, in my mind I felt like it could be as a possible exposure to loud noises, because just about the same time I was involved in a wrangle when it was this time for maandamano, or basically protests in Kenya. To So I was involved in a similar in a wrangle, and there was just so much happening in my area, like shooting all over the place. Like, if I tell you, there was constant firing for almost 5 hours straight, firing in the air or maybe directly at someone, I don't know, but there was that constant firing in my area. And then there was tear gas, and so I was as well inhaling that, and it was just the worst experience ever. So when the ringing started, I thought to myself, maybe this is as a result of that exposure to loud noises and probably the gases inhaled. And I just kept blaming myself for stuff. I have I had always had like a tendency of blaming myself for stuff happening to me, but this time it was worse because it was not a situation that was going away. It wasn't like a mistake that I could correct. Yeah, and so when I went to the pharmacist, and later they advised me to go for, is it scanning? And so I did. So the pharmacist was not a specialist, so they advised me go to an ear, nose, and throat doctor for the same. Again, I would like to mention that years back, 5 6 years ago, I had undergone tonsillectomy, so I thought maybe this is like one of those long-term effects of tonsillectomy catching up with me. Like, I just had so many theories in my head. I had so much in my head. And so I finally made it to an ENT. And what happened is that I went for imaging. And when I went for imaging, like, first of all, they checked me with some tools. I don't really know what they're called, but it's like a torch that goes in your ear, and then they can see. So when I went there, after that, when I went, she told me that my ear, it wasn't the same ENT that I had gone to years back before they recommended me for tonsillectomy. This was a different doc. So when they checked my ear, she said that she was seeing some wetness in my ear, like there was some wetness. And the moment she said that there was some wetness in my ear, I knew that could only mean one thing, an infection. And so I was told to go for imaging, which I did, and then the results came back. And so I don't know, let me not say that right now. God forgive me. And so when I went for the results were back. Initially, she had said that there's some wetness in my ear, and I immediately knew that was an infection. So when she gave me medication, I remember she gave me antibiotics, and then she gave me a cough syrup, and then she also gave me some supplements to take and some painkillers, because for the painkillers she gave me because I had started feeling pain, and the pain was actually as a result. I'm not sure. I could be wrong. I could be right. But ever since the throbbing started, I finished like a container of Q-tips, because I kept having one in my ear and just wanting to forget about, or maybe probably get out whatever it is. If it's wax in my ear, I wanted to get it out. However, when I went to the ENT, she said that the ear was very clean apart from the wetness. So I knew that was it. And so there was pain, and that's why she gave me some painkillers. So keep in mind, this is a lot of medication to take. And so it wasn't like the fact that there was that constant ringing, and this was my only hope. of me feeling better, because she assured me that this was nothing, it was just an infection. Yeah, she assured me that it was just an infection and it would eventually go away when I took the medication. And she also asked me if I had had a cold, because it could be related in a way, because it's an ear, nose, and throat connection. There's a correlation there. And so she asked me that. I told her the last cold I had was around the month of April. And so this was the next month. I told her, yeah, that's what I told her. And so I went home with my medication. And then I finished. When I finished the medication, there was no improvement at all. So I later came to learn that the reason she gave me the supplements is because tinnitus, like one of the major causes of tinnitus, could be like insufficient in something in your body. Yes, and basically when you sometimes when you have to like take supplements, so mine were iron, so they were simply blood supplements. And so one of the major causes of tinnitus is also anemia. I had been diagnosed with anemia years back. However, I did take my supplements and my blood level was okay. Like my blood count was okay to an extent that I didn't have to take them anymore. So I had informed her about that as well. So that's why I guess she gave me the medication plus the implication that tinnitus could be caused by anemia. So yeah. So after I finished my medication, I wasn't feeling any better. So I decided to, like, after a week, after finishing my medication, a week later, I went back to the doctor. And then she was like, we should examine you again. So more imaging. Is it called X-ray or CT scan? I think it's a scan. So I went for more. And I'm not really a big fan of the whole scan thing because of the risks involved. And again, like, this is the second time in a year. Like, I had gone the first time and then this is the second time. So we did the scan the second time and she did not see anything. There wasn't anything at all. And so she just gave me the antibiotics because just like continue taking. Keep in mind it's the same medication. I'm assuming if I took the first batch of antibiotics that you gave me and they did not work, you should at least change so that maybe these ones will be effective, or these ones will be stronger than the ones that you gave me the first time. The math was not mathing at all. And so I went back with the antibiotics, I took them, and then I finished. I didn't feel any better. Keep in mind, this entire time, I was even using a matchstick to just try and sort of feel movement in my ear because I was so tired of the noise. And I can tell you that from the moment the throbbing accelerated to ringing, for me that was total torment. It was torment in my ear. Do you know that sound of radio frequency? Not the soft one, the one that is very high pitched. That's what I was hearing in my ear. That's what was happening in my ear. And for so long, I was in so much torment. I felt like I was losing it, like literally losing my mind because of the same. And I can bet anyone watching this with tinnitus can attest to the fact that the moment that you have tinnitus, you never experience silence. There's no single time you're going to experience silence in your head. And for me, like, the ringing actually with time went to my head, and that's when I knew I'm going to lose it, like I'm losing it. And so Well, I also so I decided to change the ENT, and I went to a different ENT. All this time, I'm not telling anyone. Well, the first time I went to an ENT, I informed someone about it, a very special person to me. I informed him. The second and the third time, I did not tell anyone because I knew. And well, the third time, before going to, before changing the ENT, I had talked to someone about it, and they were like, "You're going mad. There's nothing like that." And then let me tell you, when you have tinnitus, you're very sensitive. Like your antennas are like this. You're very sensitive to any kind of sound. Apart from the sound of crickets, actually, do you know how crickets, like the noise crickets make? When you have tinnitus, that is a very soft sound, because the tinnitus one is very sharp. It's like piercing in your ear. It's like someone is drilling in your ear. It's like a needle is drilling your ear, and the pitch is just making you sad. So I was very sad. On top of the fact that I was sad, the ear, like the entire ear, I became sadder, and I I also I got I was getting some very bad triggers. Like I was easily getting angry, and then my blood pressure was going was higher. I even remember a certain time when I felt as if my organs were failing. It's just like that moment of feeling as if your body is not functioning anymore. And then now the ringing was here at this point. The ringing was here. And so, especially in the night, and maybe probably when it rains, there are all sorts of insects making noise. And do you know, when you have tinnitus, you're going to hear all those noises. That is the saddest thing. And so the sound was finally from my ear to my head, and that's when I knew I'm going to lose it. And then from my head, it was now connecting to this other ear. So I started hearing ringing in this ear as well. So it's from my ear to my head to this other ear. Although with this other ear, it wasn't as loud. And you can imagine the amount of torment I was going through every single day. I did not want to see light. Mind you, I was doing something that had me like on my laptop most of the times. And so I did not want to see light, and I did not want to even, like, you see, like when you turn on your bulb, I did not want to see that. Also, I want you to keep in mind that every like, okay, every once a month, I experience a migraine on this left side, because I have like a bad tooth, and it doesn't seem to go away. I've tried going to a dentist, it just doesn't. And the only solution was for me to to extract the tooth. And so you can imagine being tormented like that. And so I decided, you know what? I've been to 3 ENTs. I'm not getting any help. Oh, so with the last ENT, they just gave me eardrops, and they were like, tinnitus has no cure, and it's a chronic illness. You'll just have to learn to live with it. And I mean, like, I had gone to Google and searched about tinnitus, and I had read that it doesn't have a cure. So you just have to like observe behavior therapy, or just use like sound therapy to just learn how to live with it. And so when I went to the doctor, to the ENT, and this time was a he, and he told me that there was no cure and stuff like that, and then he just gave me ear drops. I knew, I wasn't really shocked, I wasn't surprised. If I had been told this the very first time, I would have freaked out because I had not gone online to search, because I knew something major in my life was happening, and I even knew that probably I'd not see September. Yeah, like that's how I overthink. Yeah. And so, oh, oh my God. Sometimes sometimes it just gets to you that life is very short. And so I decided to, since I was living in a house, like in a different house, from this one, I decided that let me just, oh yeah, so like what happened is I was living in a different house from this one, and so in my head I was like, probably it's this environment, and in my head I knew that there's something causing, like there's a bug causing the ringing in my ear. And so when I moved to this house, the house, like the place this one is located, it does not have like pools of water outside, and so there are not as many insects. And so the loudness of the insects is not there anymore. And so that sort of calmed me down. However, my blood pressure every time I went to check was way on the roof, because there was just ringing in my ear, and it was driving me crazy. Most of the times I felt I should have been sleeping. But you see, when you sleep and then you wake up, there's still ringing in your ear. I was just giving up every single day I woke up. I just gave up. I just gave up. And so I decided to just do like a little research for myself, and it wasn't easy, because also being on YouTube searching for stuff and people are talking, that sort of pisses you off. And so my blood pressure was on the roof, like it just kept going high, and I was so stressed and depressed at the same time. However, I was very determined. So I came across this guy called Motivational Doc, among others, that were providing solutions for tinnitus. And according to these people, tinnitus can go away. And I mean, like, that's the hope I needed. Apart from the fact that at the back of my head, I knew Google said this and this. And so let me just, this is just stuff I did to get rid of tinnitus. From popping my ears with my thumb to like holding holding the ears out and holding the lobes like this every time, to like pinching myself very hard, to hitting my head like this, like severally, to even like pressing these places of pressure, just to like, oh my God, like there was just a lot of exercise I did. From also like sitting with my oh my God, this one got me. From sitting with my legs on top of a higher surface and then my head downward, to what else did I do? Now I came to like breathing in and holding my breath, and then pushing like having pressure on the, like go to the ears. You see, like go having pressure going to the ears up until I hear a popping sound like that, and then I breathe out gently through the nose. So the air goes in, you hold it, and then you have to hold your nose like this. Hold your nose like this, and then have that air and the pressure go to the throat and to like the ears, up until you hear a pop. So at first when I did the exercise, when I do remember that specific exercise, I'm going to sort of like have it on the description, but at the moment I cannot remember it. But it starts with an S. And so the first day I held my breath, I did the exercise, I felt a difference. I did. So by the time I'm trying this exercise, I had run out of Q-tips. And then at this point, I could no longer use Q-tips as well, because you see, like the cotton was gentle to my ears. Only if I had inserted it in probably some water and or maybe some oil and then squeezed it out. But if dry, that hurt my ears. My ear, I mean, just one. And so what I did was I replaced Q-tips with tissue. So I started rolling pieces of tissue. Let me just do that right now. Okay, I'll be back shortly. Let me just pause and then I'll resume. So I'm back with a piece of tissue. So what I would do is I'll take a piece of tissue and then roll it. Well, first of all, I'd separate the two. I take the one that I want and then start rolling it like this. So this video is going to be unedited. I barely edit my videos because I just want you to have to like experience everything. If I make a mistake, yeah, you experience it. So this is what I'd have on a normal day, and then I'd take these and just have it, let it go in my ear and use it as a Q-tip. Yeah, because it felt soft, but with Q-tips, especially if you have like the plastic ones, you see like the plastic bit of it, the plastic handle used to hurt my ears, and so I could not use that. And so I continued using a rolled up tissue like this. And then when I'm doing the exercise, the one that you breathe in, you can actually, it's very advisable that you breathe in using your mouth, like the way you do when you're meditating. Just breathe in and then you hold the breath, and then you like block your nose such that there's no air coming out, and then the air that you breathe in, you try and push it to the ears such that you hear pressure on your ears and they pop like that. So that was the most relieving exercise I had ever done. And so and then the motivational doc was like, you should do this severally. And so I began doing the exercise day 1, day 2, day 3. There was relief, yes, but the ringing did not stop. It's just relief. And so I kept on using my Q-tip. Not my Q-tip, but yeah, my rolled up tissue paper. So I continued using it, and then it got to a point. Hey, if I told you, it got to a point where I actually used disinfectant on my ears just because of how crazy I felt, you'd laugh at me. I used disinfectant on my ears, and then I could use baby oil, especially I used to use baby oil like with the Q-tip, because that gave me some relief. And then it got to a point where I started using